Welcome to the Golden Blab, a podcast about golden tea and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Adam Kramer, Kevin Lindsay. This is indeed a golden tea podcast. There are other golden tea podcasts which we're going to talk about and appreciate because there's never too much golden tea. And we are sort of corporate, right? Like we have to do this is our speech.
The official speech.
Yeah, the official. See, now you pissed everybody off.
That's all right.
But the other golden tea podcasts are great as well. But we want to do one, and we'll talk about why. But first and foremost, how are you? Cheers.
Doing great.
We're
Cheers.
recording this on a Wednesday. Our goal is to record this every week. Knowing the way our calendars are and knowing how we are, that's ambitious at best, I would say. But we're going to try. And we'll talk a little bit about what this is, why we're doing it, and also some topics du jour. This is like the entry point. We don't even know if this audio is working, frankly. It's that new.
It looks like it at least.
Yeah, sure. What could possibly go wrong?
We'll blame it on the producer if it doesn't.
Yeah. So, first and foremost, I thought we'd start with, before why we're doing this, a little bit about us. And why don't you start, young Kevin Lindsay?
Well, it all started back in 1996. Now, I'll be here for 3 hours. For me, young kid in the 90s, bars, it wasn't a taboo thing with social media to have a kid in a VFW in a bar.
No.
Ran literally into a golden tea machine. And after that, it just became, a hobby and a passion. It was, Dad, after the baseball game, instead of hot dogs and ice cream, can I go get a pizza at the VFW and see Aunt Judy, Aunt Jan, people that aren't my little aunts, but as I grew up, I understood it was a respect thing, and I wanted to play golden tea. And here we are, 28 years later, something like that, on my 7th year anniversary, actually, of all things at IT.
Today is the actual anniversary.
Yes.
I should know this, but congratulations and happy anniversary.
There's a lot of people that are under the Adam Kramer presidential umbrella, so I appreciate that.
That's crazy. 7 years is a really long time. And actually, your journey to here is awesome because before you worked here, we talked a lot. And goddamn, you wanted in and ambitious as hell to get in, which I was too back in my day, but I can't believe it's been 7 years. I have a slightly different but similar path. And that really, to speak about the podcast, I think that's kind of also why we want to do this. We do have jobs, but we also genuinely love the game that we work on, the people that we work with, the people that play our games. I started in college. I had a longtime girlfriend, now my wife. I didn't like to go out to nightclubs. I would like to go to Brujas in Normal in Bloomington, Illinois, and play. Brandon Robinson, who may or may not be listening to this, who's had himself quite a golden tea career. I mean, I knew Brandon before I worked here because we would play together. And I remember literally on my birthday, Palm Springs, 18, first hole in one on my birthday. And it was like the greatest goddamn moment of my life. I went out of there telling my future now wife, hey, look what I just did. And
now I have to interrupt. I got to ask the important question. Congratulations on the Palm Springs 18 hole in one. What did you do on hole 17 though? Because that one's a doozy.
My final score was 15 under with a hole in one. Okay, so
all right.
Which I also think was a career best. Yeah, that I'm still not very good, but I definitely wasn't very good then. But I was hooked. I was hooked there. I went to regionals and got in through my mom. I've told this story before, but my mom was writing press releases for this company, and I just wanted to crack. Very similar to you. So we literally started as fans. We are still fans, even though the day-to-day has changed. So that's a little bit about us. And we'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing in the day-to-day now. But why a Golden Tea podcast? Now, I'll give my interpretation of this, and you can give yours. First and foremost, we've been talking about doing this forever, literally years. We had a logo.
I don't know if we want to admit how long it's been talking about it.
We've done name changes, we've done logos, and we finally just said, let's do this. So we've been talking about it really for the last couple of months in earnest. For me personally, a couple of things come to mind. This is our 35th anniversary. And I think there's so much amazing nostalgia with this game. that's not old. Nostalgia is a word that's really got to be really careful with, especially with our company, because nostalgia, when used incorrectly, implies old. Golden Tee has so much great nostalgia when it comes to the people who make it, the people who play it, stories around the game, that it feels like the right time to be doing this, because I think there's so many great stories that we want to do. And a big part of this podcast is going to be talking to people, whoever you guys want to hear from, the people who made the game, the people that are working here now, the people that make courses, like whoever, players, tournament operators. We want to open this up quite a bit. So that's a big part. The second part for me is in the day-to-day, I can never sit down and even utilize social media in the way that I used to. And I think we have a lot of things that we want to keep people updated on, good, bad, or otherwise. And I think this is a medium for us to do that. We send newsletters. We try and communicate with players and our customers in very unique ways, some short, some long. And this is a new medium where I think you and I can be a little bit more relaxed. Like, this is not a corporate podcast. We will curse. We will drink. We are doing that now. We will try not to get fired. But we can also be ourselves to a degree, within reason, right? There's a line to that. And I think this is a cool way for us, specifically me, to at least continue communication with an audience that, frankly, it's hard to communicate with, not because of them, but because of me. So I am this. If we have this weekly requirement, like, God damn it, Adam, you got to be here at X time to record this, or do it on the road, or mail it an interview the week before, whatever it is. Like, it will happen. So for me,
record a couple months in advance.
That's the reason, I think, for me. What about you?
No, honestly, you hit it on the head. I think, we joke about this, and it was one of the questions that you and Scott and Don asked me in my interview about, how can you separate yourself from that player to that employee? And, over my 7 years, I've done a good job. I've done a bad job at times. And over your 16 years, you've gone through that too. But There's always going to be the player in us. It might be from a development perspective. It might be from a marketing perspective, or, delivering good news, delivering not so enjoyable news. But I think, you and I put messages out on Golden Tee Fan. We send the newsletters. We send push notifications. There's almost 10,000 people in Golden Tee Fan in that Facebook group, and we reach a core aspect of those players. But I think this is a more relaxed opportunity. When we talked about doing this podcast, one of the first things you and I both agreed on was this is not going to be, your corporate, hey, here's the business decision, here's why. The first couple of minutes, we talked about the stories from the Golden Blab, the topics that we may or may not touch on here if we're trying not to get fired. But, part of the reason why we reached out to Casey about using the Golden Blab name was because there was such a tie to it, because you've been around this game for so long. I've been around both as players and, on the corporate side, but always as fans. And, you have a little bit harder you're at a harder position than I am as the president of the division versus the head of marketing, because you're trying to make decisions that are good for the company, but that also are going to resonate with our customers, that are the people listening and watching this podcast, the casual player that puts in $5 every couple of months, the operators that buy the games, the locations themselves. So I think this is a fun and different way for us to shoot the shit, to have serious conversations, but at the end of the day, have a drink, joke about some of our finer Golden Tee moments over the last, 15 plus years, and see where it takes us.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. I think there's a lot of people that will know a lot of the stories. I think there's a lot of new players that have no idea. And I think some of the interviews,
we don't scare away.
Yeah, I think even talking to like a Larry Hodgson or Jim Zielinski, whomever,
maybe even Elaine.
Get Elaine on. We if we're not, canceled by then. Then
how about Tuesday night in Las Vegas at the Amusement Expo at the gala? We'll just Elaine, get in here really quick.
Yeah, before we're pulled from the airwaves. By the way, we should mention our goal is to have this up on YouTube, on the iTunes. I say that in reference to an old Golden Tee mobile game trailer we did very many years ago, and in Spotify. Correct? Is there anywhere else we're going to be live? I should probably know this before I'm talking about the mediums where we want to be.
No, it's not. I mean, those are where the focus is going to be between producer Matt, Cleo on the IT marketing team, and Sean and Andy. Like, we'll cut up some clips and you'll get little doses here and there on social media, but I think the big focus is going to be iTunes, Spotify, and then YouTube, where people can see our beautiful faces. On the weekly basis. May not be every Tuesday, may not be every Wednesday, but it will be on a weekly basis as much as we can help it.
The other thing I'm really looking forward to real quick is like when we get deep into our software update season where we're building this stuff and it's coming together and the news is flowing out, I think there's an awesome way to talk about specific courses that we just revealed or things, features more in depth. Social media, like you fail to capture like depth. Even when you're doing a live stream, sometimes, that thing's got to keep moving. I've done this, you're playing. This is a place where hopefully you can settle into a topic. We hope, right? And our goal is to make this between 30 minutes and an hour. What are we at now? We talk
15.
Yeah. We're running late already, right? Like, and this is what happens. So we'll see. Like, we want this to be extremely relaxed, and that's the goal. Now, all right, two things relative to the pod. First and foremost, the name, Golden Tee Blab. Now, longtime players of the game will know exactly what this is. It's still technically running. And before there was Golden Tee Fan, there was the Golden Tee Blab. Now, I'm curious what your fondest memories of the Golden Tee Blab. What would you message board, essentially? Yes.
It's interesting. I just pulled it up. Golden Blab at Underdog Sports. It doesn't have that blue board feel like it used to for those who have been around for a while.
It was literally blue, by the way. That's why the blue board, like it was bright. Well, it's technically, I guess, purplish blue, but it was blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, back in, let's just call it the mid 2000s, like right between Golden Tee 4 and Golden Tee Live, IT had their official, I think it was like a PHP board or something like that. And that was the official, hey, you, Gary, Dan, other people posting messages out there from the company, whereas Golden Blab was the, hey, not that we're going to touch on it now, but we might, Tommy Tuesday, where to find a game before Find a Game was truly as active as it is now, especially in the Golden Tee 4 era of the phone lines. Those games were calling in once every 24 hours. So it was, hey, I'm going to be in Chicago, let's play. Hey, there's a tournament in Chicago, or, for example, coming up this weekend in the Wisconsin Open. That's how I found some of the first tournaments was when I was in college. Yours truly, Adam, you actually wrote an article about one of the cheesiest things I've done, which was put GT golf license plates on my 2002 Monte Carlo when I was in college, because that was the only thing my dad would let me put on the car. And what that led to was Brian Bernhardt, great player out of Alexis, Illinois, Western Illinois, reaching out and connecting. And guess what? Now I'm on the boards. I'm no longer just the annoying kid who's like, hey, I really want these 20-year-old marquees. Do you guys have it? I'm like, hey, I've got a voice as a younger player. Here's what I love about Golden Tee here. I know I've sent you complaints and those messages back in the day of like, why did you guys do this? Or another classic topic, the Shark Tank, stuff like that.
That was the day.
That is, that's how I really got to know the boards. But then you dive deep into the archives, and there's a lot of, in retrospect, a lot of fun, interesting, with a capital I's in there, interesting, but just fun topics. And you can kind of see the transition from the Golden Blab over to Facebook and those boards, probably about 10 years ago.
So when I started at IT, we had our own message boards, but really those weren't very active. I hated going on those, to be candid. The Blab is where I was supposed to go. It was part of the job was to monitor what was on the Blab. But the difference in the Blab versus Facebook, which is funny now, if a thread got popping on Blab, it was a message board thread. So you had to wait throughout the day. You're like in Facebook, it evolves so quickly. A discussion can, within 90 seconds, a meaty topic you go in Blab, it would, you'd have the thread, the sub-thread of the thread. Right. And when something meaningful would happen, it was the day. It was like at the heart and soul of Golden Tee. It would be weird, sometimes very weird. But it was, to me and to you, it's kind of like when we were talking about a name, it was perfect. Now, Casey Brock, who we've known for a very long time, who the godfather, and there's plenty of people in terms of ownership of this board that are really important. This is an ode to that more than anything. We're not trying to rip it off. We wanted to make sure everybody was cool with it, because the spirit of Golden Tee, to me, is that board. Good, bad, or otherwise. But I also think, like you said, the camaraderie, the communal stuff, before there was a social network that brought everybody together in these fashions, that board was kind of it. right? That board was it before the games really knew how connected they would be and everything else. So I had some very tough days monitoring that board. I had some great days. I met some great people. That board means a lot to both of us in a very weird way. And you're right. You go down, it's still there. You could go revisit some of the threads, and I shouldn't say it's 9 years. It's still alive. But
unless it gets taken down after this podcast goes live,
maybe. The other thing that I think is really important, and we brought it up at the top, and I want to give ode to these guys. There are Golden Tee podcasts out there. This is, and they are unedited. They will tell you what they think, good, bad, or otherwise, about our game or the decisions we make or an event. We, of course, within limits, can't do that. We will tell you stories, and we have access, and we have some things, but I think it's important that there are other podcasts out there, which not only do we support, but we've been on, and we encourage you guys to visit. So Chris Longino, the Gino's GT podcast, I love going on that because, he likes the same wine that I do, and we're usually drinking wine together. We're due to have that on. We will have Longino on. And then the Podmore Get Better with Tony and Will, who have been around this game a long time, who played a lot of Golden Tee. Tony, in terms of mobile as well, which will be featured on this pod, and not just the arcade game. I think this is an important disclaimer. Please go find them. Please go support them. They do a great job, and they were carrying this torch long before we actually got off our asses and decided we were going to do this podcasting. So we love what they do. We will have them on here for sure, and hopefully they invite us back on as well. When's the last time you did either of those?
It's been a little while. I think the last one I did with Gino was maybe a year or so ago. Again, you have somebody like me who grew up literally with this game, and I'm now on this side of it. And then you have Gino, who also a little bit older than I was at the time, but it's still growing up through this game. And so when the two of us talk, it just becomes such a long podcast because there's so many stories. Not that it's a bad thing, but we love ourselves some Golden Tee history, and even talking with Will and Tony earlier, just like hey, we're doing this. I want you guys to know it. They laughed in a good way. They're like, it's about time you guys do something, on the official side, because you guys can speak to it in a different way that we can. And just like you said, we're going to continue to support those guys, and Brian Bernhardt, Matt Hoosier, Gary Sheldon, those guys that are with Gino. Although they had a podcast come out recently that talked about some decisions we made, but I didn't get a chance to listen. So that might have to be a follow-up podcast. I'm sure I'll get it from them in Wisconsin.
For sure. Yeah. And by the way, Wisconsin, we have our list of items that we want to hit. We should promote it. Our events is going to Wisconsin this weekend. There is still time to go. It's a great venue. It's a great location. Sussex is amazing. It always cracks me up to this time of year with Wisconsin, the weather. Last year there was indeed a blizzard, correct? That was like
I believe it was like day one or something like
right.
that. There were some interesting travel stories, but this year I think it's just going to be cold. But even Stefan and Cassie, who own Sussex Bowl, even before it became an official Power Events tournament stop, I don't know, probably at this point, 6-7 years ago, Stefan and Cassie have been hosting this for many years past that. Our old friends, David Crawford and Dan Miser, some of the guys that really started that Wisconsin tournament. That was my first tournament 12, 13 years ago. And so there's definitely some legacy when you go to this event, because it is such a massive location. That pool hall they have. The food there is great. The staff will come back just to work that weekend because they want to see the friends that they've made. And that's not unique to Sussex, but it's always a fun characteristic to talk about, because that's how much of an impact this game and this community and the camaraderie and all that really, really does. Is it brings people together in ways that I don't think most of us ever thought were possible many years ago.
Yeah, it's a great stop. And I do, in our first pod, do want to give props both to the venue and Power Events for doing everything that they do. Some of the stuff that we've been talking with Steve about, in representation, of course, with Russ and Paige, on things we can grow the tour, the ways that we can support them. There's a lot of really cool, exciting conversations happening behind the scenes that God, you know how many hours I've spent and will spend and you spend to help support them, and it's genuine. God, that means a whole lot to us, especially as we've found now a new kind of more steady, permanent home with Worlds, working with them to find the tournament schedule. Go check out the PGA Tour if you're listening to this and you haven't. You're looking. I'll go back to again my origin of Golden Tee. Before YouTube and 4 streams, I can't tell you how many people that ask me like, these guys are shooting 30 under. What kind of bullshit is this? This is bullshit. They're cheating. They're bots. No, I swear. Go to this bar and find this person. The name Ship It is real. It actually is a real person. He's quite nice. Go talk to him or whomever. And I think streaming and the tournament access has obviously eliminated some of that. But if you want to get better at this game, or you want to hang out with a really good group, or you just you want to learn more, or goddamn, be entertained.
Yes, that is
go to an event and watch some of these guys play, or you can do it obviously online. We'll be streaming the event all weekend long, which is great too. But I do think you get a better appreciation of it if you're there in person.
Yeah, and just the other thing too, obviously you can go to goldentee.com. We've posted about it on social media and on the live wire, but you can also go to PEGTtour.com for more information. I just wanted to make sure I said it correct so I can tell Steve that I know that it's not PGA Tour, it is PGT, because it will come up in conversation from Mr. Steve Sobel.
I'm guilty as charged. I'm like,
I just had to do it.
No, but yeah, if you want to learn a lot about the game, a lot of people listening to this probably already know a great deal or think they know a great deal at least. But if you want to learn more, if you watch some of these guys play, you go talk to them, and our players are incredibly accommodating. Incredibly accommodating. At tournaments, you buy them a beer, you introduce yourself, you will play a game with them. Vast majority, you play 1 or 2 games with one of our top players, which is how I learned how to play, which maybe is a good story for the pod. And I can tell that shortly, but it'll change your Golden Tee life. You need a half hour. When I arrived at IT off of my 15 under and my hole in one on Palm Springs, I thought I was pretty goddamn good. I was very good. I was shooting, 21, 22 under by then. And Steve Sobey, who worked at IT, albeit at hilarious hours, was our expert and would shoot all the content and all the stuff that we would do was Sobey approved. And I remember playing a game with him thinking like, I'm pretty good. And he essentially was like, hey, that's really fun and cute, but you don't know shit. And
I'm a 3-time national champ. Thank you very much.
Start over. Yeah, we're going to rebuild that golf swing. And it was awesome. I mean, granted, I had access to this guy every single day. And I played and I learned about the game, and I learned there's still shots that he would do, an old school playing style that I never quite fully will understand. But he really taught me an appreciation for why Golden Tee is the greatest game ever made, because of the way it's built and the engine and everything else, and it also made me a better player. It's what frustrates me now because I don't play as much. So I think I know what I'm doing, and I kind of at least know the shot, but hitting it is a much, much different story. So again, in the origins of the tournaments, go check it out. You know this better than anybody. In fact, you have been around these now, and just these situations more. It's fun. It can be as intense in terms of Golden Tee knowledge as you want it. If nothing else, go have beers and a good time, which is really what this is about.
Yeah, like I joke about it almost every time I get on commentary at a tournament, but the number of people in the 7 years I've been here going to tournaments as an IT employee, even before that as a player, the number of players that I've met that are brand new, that they've either, you and I have been in this position once or twice, a time or two in a Chicago bar having a beer. People recognize you from the videos that we've done on the Golden Tee YouTube channel. It still throws me off when somebody goes, man, I bought a game because I watched you, or I watched so-and-so stream so many hours of Golden Tee, or I came to this tournament because you guys, you and like the Andy Haas's and Evan Gossett's and those guys, jumped on commentary after they lost at a tournament and talked about the shots they hit, or they met them at the tournament and they came back. I probably annoy people when I say this, but almost at every tournament, whether I've known you 10 years, 5 years, or, 5 days, hey, You going to, so-and-so, you going to St. Louis in early May? No? Okay, I'll see you there. Because when you become, you basically become part of this family when you come to a tournament, this crazy wild ride of Golden Tee. But you get sucked into that friendship, the camaraderie, the fun, the staying at the locations until they kick you out because you're in a 15-man game or a 16-man game, that kind of stuff. You get to learn better shots and how to play, Golden Tee more efficiently and effectively. But the other part of that is you're going to go back to your home bar. You're going to play with your buddies and you're going to teach them a few things. And then you are going to be like how you were, Adam, for a little bit, like, hey, I'm a really good player. I went through that. I mean, there's friends of mine as adults that were my parents' friends growing up that stopped playing Golden Tee with me because at like 12 years old, I was shooting like 25 unders on them. And they're like, Dan, I can't hang out with your son anymore. He's just kicking our ass. But like when you go to these tournaments, you learn those shots and how to be a better player, and you make the other people around you better.
And they're just fun. They're well run. It's spirited competition, and all with the backdrop of having a good time. I have been amazed that the overwhelming majority of the events I've been to, like, everybody's so nice. Everybody treats each other well. It's, you have alcohol, you have competition, you have that stuff, and it all blends together because the community, I think, allows it to blend together. So go check it out, whether it's Wisconsin or the Stream or some of the other events. There's a lot still to come. We'll talk about Worlds in a little bit. Please just go check something out because I think you'll learn a lot. More than anything, it's a good time. What are we up to? We're up to a lot. This is actually a particularly really crazy time of year for us. We're preparing for our industry trade show, which I guess we'll talk about next week more in full. We're preparing for new products. We're preparing for Worlds, which suddenly is incredibly close. We've got more content and course releases coming, which I'm really excited to talk about, and we'll probably do that next week because I think the release of Red Sands, which is March 18th. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, right. It's one of the coolest, most unique. I was playing in your office the other day, and I'm like, man, this is different. This is different, right? Like, it is different. Go ahead, give me a quick tease of what you're a resident expert, unfortunately, on this podcast. I can admit that without feeling bad about it. What would be your interpretation of the next course that's coming?
It's interesting for me. Red Sands was one of the courses that I grew up playing on GT97. But you take a course that was a typical, 22, 23 under back in the day with stock balls and stock clubs. You bring it into Golden Tee PGA Tour with the number of golf balls that we have out there, the different club sets that you can build. And there is a lot of holes that were never drivable that now you're getting within inches of the cup. You're putting in for eagle. I think this course will be very scoreable, but it also has a fun mixture of sand and water. And there's a couple of par threes, one in particular that is very, very short. But unlike some of our favorites, you can't put it to the green. It's not going to be an easy chip because if you hit that chip short, you're going to hit the rocks, go in the water.
I did that a handful of times, by the way, which you saw. Yes. No, it's fun. It's different. Look, it's open. It's flat. It's going to change round to round. We'll talk. I don't want to. We need content for next week. We do this shit every week. So we'll leave it at that. But I am excited to talk about it because I think it's going to draw some strong reaction from players. I think the nostalgia alone, I think people will get. And we'll talk a little bit about that process maybe next week. But I think it's also, it's unique. You play that one in the lineup, it's going to look and feel different than anything I think a lot of people have played.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear what the players' reactions are, to see what the scores are, to see what the casual player is hitting versus an Andy Haas or Brian Bernhardt or any number of these top players. And honestly, it's funny, like, as we talk through this, like, oh, we got to make sure we have topics. I mean, we kid about that because there's always something going on, always something to talk about. One thing that we won't talk too much right now about, but I want to touch upon is Score It. One of the new products. It's a web-based product. If you've ever heard of Fax, the free automated contest tournament software, we're kind of evolving that into Score It. which is in the long run is part of a bigger umbrella that we're trying to start called Promote It. So whether you're a small time operator that has 1 or 2 locations, or you're a power vending that has power events in all their Missouri locations and others, or an Excel or some of these big companies, even for us, we're building this contest software for, holes in one or birdies or better. We're kind of doing a beta test of it this weekend at the PGA Tour event, where we're giving away $100 gift cards for a variety of categories. But what we want to do is make this a tool that is easy to use, whether you know Golden Tee or you're just getting into it as an operator. And I say we as in you and me, because this was a big important piece for us.
Yep.
We'd like to run statewide or nationwide contests where, hey, we're going to give away $1,000 gift card for, longest drive or holes in one, things like that. And so Fax was tried and true. It was a program that you installed on a Windows computer, which is not the case anymore.
It was tried.
Web-based.
It was tried, is what Fax was. Let's be real.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
It was true to itself and being an outdated log of a program. Look, no, but we have a lot of people, hopefully a lot of different people listening, whether they're players or operators or whomever in the community. Score It is Fax 2.0. I mean, that was the kind of the beta name. And it's an easier way, hopefully, for specifically operators or location owners to group people together. The part I think is really interesting to the player side is kind of this is you mentioned the part of the bigger movement. This does eventually expand into things like leagues. And I think it does eventually expand into things like player-driven contest creation elements, which are still in its infancy and being talked about and stuff we have to get feedback on. But I think ultimately that is where this is heading, and this is step one, because we have so many hungry people out there that invitationals, which we're doing now, right? Like that is a singular moment. Imagine, the hope would be at some point doing that on steroids for players and allowing them the ability to, if you and I want to group ourselves together and take on 2 of the best players in the world, A, hopefully handicaps, and B,
good luck.
Yeah, congratulations on the win. But I think that'd be really neat, kind of empowering. So we want to start at the operator level. We want to give some tools, and then eventually, bring this to the player side. We'll get into some of the things that we'll talk about when it comes in the next year's update too. All of this in terms of both local and kind of interwebs wide competition, which I think is really, really important. Money Shot is at the home now. Hey, that's awesome.
It works.
It works.
Everything is perfect.
I'm sure it just went down. No, it's neat. It's a very popular mode. It's obviously very fast to play. I think it's exciting. We'll see how players run with it. You have the unenviable task of trying to handicap and forecast what play and behavior is going to be like. It's hard to do. We went through that at the daily contest many, many moons ago and have tried to do it ever since. It's not a difficult, not an easy thing to do. But what has been your thoughts so far?
I said this in a message to some of the players on the Home Edition group on Facebook. It is very early in its infancy. This is only day 3. It's going to take us some time to get data on it, but right now we're starting with lower price pools. I've already bumped up Friday's price pool to be about 700, just because we want to throw that carrot out there. But right now we're paying first place 20%. Commercially, we're paying 50%. With the home, the way you and I looked at it is we wanted to invite the everyman. Obviously, as players as people who used to play Golden Tee a lot and still do when we can, you want to entice those guys, but you also want the casual homeowner to have a reason to get an online subscription, to track their stats, create a golfer. And it's hard finding a balance. And so my hope, depending on how things shake out, is, every couple of weeks, if not quicker than that, maybe we change up the payouts a little bit just so we get some good subsets of data over the next couple of months. But, believe me, as somebody, and I said this in this post as well, as somebody who played way too much Money Shot that we're not going to look up because it's kind of sad, unless you were at the NIV in 2015 when it debuted, then you'll understand, or 2016. But it's an addicting mode. It's fun. It's, the wins change every time, or every shot you get. And for the dollar entry, The hope is that the number of plays we get is going to build the prize pool. But with all due respect to everything that you and I or the entire team are doing, IT is still business. And that's not to get all businessy in this conversation, but like,
sorry, I'll get businessy in a second. Don't worry.
No,
you got the easy one.
Yeah. No, but we want to, that's a good point. No, but we want to balance, like, this is a fun mode that we want to bring to people. And obviously when you spend the money to get a home edition, whether it's a Legacy or a PGA Tour or a PGA Tour Go, that's an investment. And we want to give you opportunities to, be rewarded. And what I love telling people when they're at a trade show, they're like, why should I buy a home edition? Any money you win on that home edition, you can take this weekend to the Wisconsin Open, and you can use those credits to play games in the tournaments. It's not just like it's money that's going to stay in the IT system. You can go to your bar and play it for real cash. And understand that, whether it's myself or Adam or other people, there's a fine balance that we have to navigate when it comes to commercial operators and locations and homeowners and all that. But I will say this, as stressful as it sometimes may be, at the end of the day, it's fun and it's challenging to you and I. And I think that's why, selfishly, I think you and I do very well in our positions. And I'm mostly saying that because I want people's feedback. This is the give a shit portion of the podcast.
And they're welcome to.
About how our business or marketing decisions actually suck. But no, it's that fun balance of how do you entice more casual players while still appeasing the homeowners that have had a game for 5-10 years and finding that middle ground.
Well, it's really interesting. Our customer has evolved a lot over the last 10 years. It was amplified during COVID, I think, which a lot of people's businesses were amplified. But, long before, it was not terribly long ago that we released an update just to bars that had 5 courses, a handful of features, no need to and a cigar, and we would leave them be. Right. And that was the update. And that's a shit ton of work, by the way, doing that every single year. Just seeing what goes into the courses. And the evolution of that happened incredibly rapidly with the interest in the home edition and the way that has evolved. The way that I think COVID, in some cases, when you had thousands of locations that just went kaput, you had a lot of different games you think ultimately turn into home editions and end up into the home. Right. Our customer base has evolved, and it is a challenge, which is a good segment, by the way, to a brief conversation about the kit in terms of the Golden Tee kit. Yes, Golden Tee PGA Tour, we're working on and really are finalizing a commercial kit that will be out in the next couple of weeks. That means that essentially it's an all-new game, new system box, new control panel, new everything. I've been in meetings essentially a good chunk of the day about this. Doing it is not easily because you are basically making an entire new game, but launching it as a commercial product. Of course, we announced this news. It generated and still will generate a lot of strong response. We are not necessarily shocked by this. When we talked with the PGA Tour, and we've already said all this shit online, but we have to address it. When we talked with the PGA Tour initially, it was new product. It's new wood, like new wood. This is an amendment to our current deal. And it was a long discussed one. Sorry, I thought that was muted. In any event, it's not something we take lightly, but it is something that after months upon months of hearing reaction, specifically from commercial operators, whether it's space, whether it's price, whether it's the ability or want to move games out, whether it's the one of the old cabinet look. A variety of reasons that have led us to do this. And again, I understand it. Strong response to me, to the decision. I both appreciate it. I understand it. I listen to it. And I have no other meaningful response. People aren't wrong. We did not think we'd ever do this. That's real. But you have to react to also what the business needs are, and specifically that core market when it comes to the commercial front. We'll come to the home eventually. We don't have the plans right now. Getting this off the ground commercially has been nothing short of a monumental project, and it will continue to be, as you know very well, too. So that would be my 2 cents on kits. I don't know if I missed anything, but by all means, jump in.
No, I think the emphasis is really on you talk pre-COVID when we were talking with the PGA Tour, and then during COVID, and then trying to launch the PGA Tour cabinet, and then finally doing it a few years ago. No matter what, our old FAQ is comes up of like, oh, we're not going to do
Fair.
kits. Well, you know what? That's the case. It was not, that was not the plan. And I just want to emphasize that because, you and I can say whatever we want here, but that's the damn truth when it comes to it, is that it wasn't the plan. But as a business, as a division of a business that has multiple facets to it, you have to make decisions. And, we don't try to pivot, against things that we've talked about before, but it happens. But that's the big thing, is that, home edition, when it was one of the first things that came up when we started talking about this kit was, okay, we have to bring this to the home edition. Like you said, we will do that in due time. But I would say on the positive side, the feedback from commercial operators, people that have just purchased dozens of new PGA Tour games but still have old Golden Tee live cabinets, their feedback has been really positive. And the momentum, I think, going into our industry trade show in a few weeks is really good. I know as a player or as a location, it might be harder to see that or process it, but I'm just saying that because, these are operators, these are businesses that spend, thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on cabinet. We don't make that decision lightly for them either, much less a homeowner who spent $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000 on a cabinet. So just bear with us as we're, making these decisions, and, within the parameters that we can and that we want to, like, we'll share stuff. And it's kind of what we joked about this podcast being about, is sharing kind of a little bit of, inside baseball more than we would elsewhere, because IT, for as long as I've been around it, as a player, as a fan, as an employee, we're very transparent on a lot of things, more than I think other game developers are.
Yeah, we will be on this podcast. I am, I've talked to players a lot over the last couple of weeks, and I appreciate all the opinions, even if some of them vehemently don't line up with ours. I respect that too. In what we do, we have to read everything with a different lens. Otherwise, we'll drive each other crazy, or drive ourselves crazy, right? Which is totally fine also. We do have another kit in the commercial world that we are working on also. While we're talking kits and all the other things that we're doing, the game behind me, Arcade Collection, will be going online live. This was something actually we also said that we would not do at the time, jokingly, like, hey, we want to, and there are the 3 IPs. If you're watching on YouTube, I guess this is an audio medium too, but Silver Strike, Power Putt, and Target Toss, which was, by the way, in the latest Replay magazine, just voted the #1 arcade game. Player's Choice.
You just brought that up because you wanted to smell the magazine.
Oh man, that fresh paper smells great. Replay just hits differently.
By the way, completely unrelated, but I just had it on my desk behind me.
Oh wow!
Some good old 2007 Golden Tee live stats, and we're gonna have a lot of episodes that are dedicated to throwing back Golden Tee, especially for 35th anniversary. But I didn't want to be alone by myself in the island, not having a pamphlet.
Yeah. So we do have another kit. We're bringing Silver Strike online, which it turns out, with the way we built this game, is a lot harder than we thought, but it's going well. And this is a positive. We know people have it. Arcade Collection is in the home right now. This is going to be a commercial exclusive product because we've never had an online home Silver Strike. Doesn't mean we won't in the future. I guess I'll never say no again.
Ever again?
So just say maybe. No, but it's a different beast, right? In the way we formatted it. But this product, in certain pockets, maybe people listening, this is a Golden Tee podcast. At my house, this is what my kids want to play. I'm probably playing more Power Putt these days than I am Golden Tee. And I'm getting good. Not Piano Steve good. But I'm getting, no, he would win my ass. But I'm getting good, even if I still have the blow-ups every now and then.
Well, this is kind of tongue-in-cheek, but also I haven't asked you any hard questions here yet.
Yep.
Will Golden Tee be in the Arcade Collection in the future?
No? Question mark? No. There are no plans as of now. I need
as of March 6, 2024.
I think they're separate. Like we talked about it. I think they're separate, and I think these are great IPs that frankly appeal to a much different player. Like my house is a great example. I have both these games in my basement. I did the arcade collection conversion myself, believe it or not, without breaking myself or anything. Thank you. You're surprised. You know how technically inept I am.
I wasn't going to say it, but I appreciate the
Silver
throw.
Strike these are great games. Bags, long darts, which we've played the shit out of behind me for many, many years. I do think I'm going to make a switch and bring back a PGA Tour in the office. We're shooting this at our office. I think I need to get the itch and play a little bit more at home.
By the way, your kids are getting pretty good at Golden Tee too, right? I believe
they are. They still don't have like it's patience more than anything. They're young kids, so like getting through an 18-hole game with the four of us is pain. It is
took me
pain.
20 years to get any form of patience in Golden Tee, so good luck.
Well, that's true. But it is fun. We enjoy it. So one more and all that. But the one last thing we should talk about is Worlds. We said we couldn't fill up an hour. We can easily fill up a fucking hour. Good God.
Hey, we're only at the 47-minute mark. And hopefully we don't get cut down too much by producer Matt.
Yeah, it's fine. We haven't failed yet. Air quote. So World Championship. We are focused on our trade show, which will be in Vegas in a couple of weeks, and but we're also really kind of gearing up for Worlds, which is more or less. Honestly, you do and help spearhead a ton of this stuff. So, for people that don't know, you can qualify for the World Championship right now on a Golden Tee. Both home and commercially are doing qualifiers. Doing this for a while. It is at the Palms in the last week of June. I don't have the exact date in front of me. It's why I sheepishly lived into that.
That's all right. I'm
28.
Sorry, I accidentally blew up my screen, so it's on behind me. But no, it's June 27th through June 30th. But it's a combined event for arcade and mobile. So if you're going to be out there for Arcade Worlds, get out there, hang out. The Mobile World Championship. Say what you will about that game, but those players are just as dedicated as arcade. And honestly, just some of the conversations we're having with the Palms and other entities that are surrounding the Palms, I guess, depending on how vague of a tease that is.
Are you talking about odds?
Sure, I guess we're
gonna try. I mean, we're gonna try. I'm happy to, in the effort of transparency. You're like, God damn it, we don't know. It's always complicated. We've done it a handful of times. I have it on my desk here. We are technically grandfathered in with the Nevada Gaming Board to do odds. That's fine. It still is a much different type of thing. It is hilarious to read that Nevada Gaming Board. Like the following entities are approved: NFL, PGA Tour, NBA, MLB, Golden Tee. Yeah, like it's we'll see. We'd love to do it. It's just and we're gonna give it. If it doesn't happen, please know it's not because we didn't push it. We love what it stands for, and we'll continue to push for it. Obviously in the future. But sorry, I didn't mean to hijack that. I'm happy to go there without you having to go there.
No, it's okay. No, but the big thing, we technically announced this, and the full prizes will come out over the weekend, just so I can get massive amounts of shit about it at the Wisconsin tournament. But $165,000 prize pool, which for a game that I will, with utmost respect to every other game out there, say is one of the first esports before esports was a thing. Back in '96, we were doing $10,000 plus monthly tournaments on our arcade games. $165,000 is the biggest prize pool we've ever offered in Golden Tee National or World Championship history. $35,000 top prize for this year's 35th anniversary. $115,000, or actually over $115,000 in the championship gold bracket, and over $45,000 in the silver bracket. So,
and a mobile prize pool, by the way, and a mobile, you've been away a lot. It's a long couple of days. Can I just say that?
I'm pretty sure I'm out there for 8 days.
Long couple of.
But we're hiring help to bring heavy equipment in and out of it. So I and the marketing team will be much, much happier people after the event. And I will not sadly sit at a losing slot machine at the Vegas airport talking to my boss, the guy on my right, depending on what you're looking at, about how tired and hot and cranky I am.
Yeah. Understand. Those are long. I love that championship. for some history about who we are and how much we care about the game, my youngest son, who's now 4, will be 5 around this time. He was 6 days old, and I left. My wife was induced so I can make the world championship, right? Like, we still talk about that. Oh yeah, every time that birthday comes along, I think about that conversation I had with my wife.
And that was also the year that we did the 30-minute ESPN show. So that was the other factor out. We're like, am I going to have to get some broadcast partners because Adam is at the hospital?
Well, now we've got more broadcast partners. I do love that, but it's a long wait for everybody because mobile doing it together, we'll talk about this more as we get closer. It's a very interesting dynamic. For us that have to work both long. Mobile in itself is a beast. We want to give that thing everything we've got. And we will. And so a lot of talking, man, for you and I, just very selfishly for you and I, more than anything. But I'm really excited about the venue. We've scouted it. We've talked it. Like we're really excited. We're getting closer and closer to the Strip. We basically are slightly just off the Strip.
Yes, that's a good point.
And the Palms has been great to work with. We're excited to work with us. We started these conversations at Worlds last year, which is cool. It shows also how much just goes into doing this. So we are excited. I think that's it. For week.
I mean, 52, 53 minutes with a few minutes of outros. I think that's a great first episode. Although the people that are out there watching, listening, however they consume it, will tell us one way or the other. But I think schedules be damned. This is something fun that you and I have talked about literally for years. We're not even, we're absolutely jacking ourselves, but it's the truth because it's been an idea for so long. But with GT35, with Worlds, with GT 2025 coming out, later this year, there's too much to not do this. And no matter, whether we're dealing with kits or, Scablands, giving you the wrong course, which we're still working on, by the way.
Damn it.
Since you brought up the betting odds, I figured I'd just throw that out there. No, but, whether it's good, bad, or just different, there's always a ton of going on. I would really love in a couple of weeks, maybe after a couple of cold beverages, to record in Las Vegas, even if it's a brief episode. I think that would be hilarious. But the plan really is to do this every week. And like I said, we're going to do our best to have this, record on Wednesday and have it come out Thursday, Friday. But you never know with travel, with tournaments, with all kinds of fun and exciting stuff. You will get weekly Adam Kramer, Kevin Lindsay content. Just depends on the day.
And also the hope would be if one of us is out, the other can step in. And we'll bring in a guest. I know Jim Zielinski will be on this probably quite a bit. Talk both the history of Golden Tee. I want to dedicate an entire episode to Tommy Tuesday. I want to talk about this, which people have talked about before, and you can go know what it is. Great, you'll love that episode.
Google.
We want to talk with Larry. We want to talk with others, people that make the game now. I think it's really important to people that make. Or have impacted this game that are not as publicly available as maybe some of the other ones who want to talk, by the way. That's the big part. Who actually want to do this.
Yeah.
And if they do, great. And if they don't, that's fine. But I think it's really important. So many people have had an impact on this maybe you don't know. And I think that's really important to both of us that we will highlight. So this will be whatever it is it becomes. But more than anything, I think it's going to be informative and hopefully lighthearted. We will talk about what we like to drink, which today for me, by the way, was a Gummylicious AZ IPA.
There you go.
It's realizing as I'm getting older, IPAs hit a little differently. Like my tolerance, which is very sad to say out loud. Like my tolerance for IPAs is changing a little bit. Unfortunately, put me down basically. And but we will
nap
talk
time under the desk.
Yeah. You go. Couch now. So we will, and we'll take suggestions too. People you think we should talk to, subjects we'd like to tackle, tips on how to play the game, even though I don't know if you want them. I think there's some really interesting things we can offer from our perspective of ways to teach or ways for you to learn. I don't know if we could be the best teachers, but we can tell you where to start.
Yeah, or real tips if you want to. Our mailing address is on our website. If
we'll
you
take
want
that
to,
too.
send some pigeons, carrier pigeons.
Yeah, we will take that as well. So more than anything, we want to entertain and inform. And please subscribe wherever the hell you're subscribing. And again, one last time, other Golden Tee podcasts, Chris Longino, more
Pod more, get better.
Pod more, get better. I was saying play more, get better, because I say that in my house a lot to my kids.
But you don't do it.
Well, they don't do it because they need to be better at this. Disapproving dad. Please support these guys too. Support us, support them, support Golden Tee. With that, for Kevin Lindsay, I'm Adam Kramer. We will talk to you guys hopefully next week.